Hello, I'm Wes Turnbull, and welcome to Freemasons, The Inside Story. In this episode, we chat with Grand Master Hillel Benedykt and his wife Sue, Deputy Grand Master Don Reynolds and his partner Maya.
Hi, I'm here today with someone who needs no introduction, one of our favorite presenters on Freemasons, The Inside Story, Jim Spreadborough.
My pleasure.
Can you tell us a little bit about your role as Grand Librarian?
It's a role that the Grand Lodge of Victoria has that looks after all our heritage books. We have some books going back to 1750, we have a Bible going back to 1560, so we've got a lot of great heritage books there, plus a lot of history of Freemasonry in series of books and journals that have been written. We've got lots of old magazines going back to the early 1800s on Freemasonry and other items that happened in Victoria at the time, and modern books written about Freemasonry. Look after those to make sure they're kept in good condition, and so that we can also refer the correct ones to any student who wants to have a look at them, study from them, and do some serious study on Freemasonry as a part of their curriculum or studies of Freemasonry itself.
How do you know so much about the history and origins of some of the artefacts in the library?
Mainly from the books that we've got. You know, you can source the internet. You know, I often say to people, you know, Freemasonry, secret society, if you think it is, the only people who think that Freemasonry is a secret society are those people who can't Google, because you'll get it all from there. There's only a couple of things you won't get from there. But in our books, we've got all that sort of information, and it's just basically someone's asked a question. If I haven't got a ready answer, you find a book that it's connected with that, and you go through it, and you can give them a qualified answer of what they're after. So it's all in our books, in our library. We've virtually got everything that's covered for any information about Freemasonry.
Jim, what has been your favourite segment on From the Archives?
The very first one, and one of the very first ones, was the little rituals. Very small little pocket rituals that men used to put them in a little vest pocket here and carry them there. And they were made, produced in Williamstown back in 1880, and they were just a fantastic little treasure that we found. And I've had a couple more handed to me since I did that segment. That'd probably be about the favourite. That'd be the best, the little rituals.
Jim, you interject a lot of personality and sometimes comedy in your segments. Was this the intention?
No. All of these have been ad lib in the sense that here's the object, and what I knew about the object I would say. And I'd repeat what I knew about that after doing a bit of research on it. And some of them just come out that way that I felt that was necessary. I know there's been a couple that I probably threw in a few things which I thought, oh, that'll be cut out. And then a couple of weeks later when I watched myself on TV, they were still there. So they've come up all right.
Would one of those be your granddaughter's plastic iron, perhaps? Oh,
yes. I was showing some objects from 1800 odd, which was used in the olden days of you put your flat iron on them or your kettle or whatever they had, and I didn't have one of those, but I happened to have in my case that day, and I thought, oh, something I had from the car from the night before from the granddaughter, so I grabbed that little iron out and I thought I'll put that on as a thing. So when I put the plastic iron on, and when I went through and said this other object's from 1830 or whatever it was, and it's brass and it's from France and boom, 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 but this one here, this is from China and it's plastic and it's 2013. And I thought they would cut that out, but they didn't. So, yeah. But a lot of people come in now, especially a lot of ladies come in asking, can we see the iron?
I understand that there's going to be an exhibition coming up at the Dallas Brooks Centre soon. What goes into planning for an event such as that?
Well, it's a great time to showcase the history of Freemasonry. even though, yes, that's 1889, we're 125 years old for the United Grand Lodge of Victoria. Freemasonry dates back prior to that, back to the 1840s in Victoria. But for our birthday, for the United Grand Lodge of Victoria, it's 125 years. So we've got a showcase of a lot of the objects over the years that have been handed into us. Because, okay, we've got library books that come in from a lot of the public and from members, but they also bring in some of their artefacts. And a lot of those things I've been showing on from the archives have come in from those sorts of people. All those objects that we've seen, the artefacts that have been on from the archives, will be on show from June the 18th, Wednesday, June the 18th. From here, from 4 o'clock, anyone can come in and have a look. We'll give you a bit of a guided tour around the place. And after that, there'll be a week or so after that, there'll be a full week where we'll be open all day for the general public, anyone to come in and have a look. And you'll have a good guided tour of the building, the lodge rooms, and we'll open up everything in the lodge rooms. We'll show you a lot of the artefacts in the library, and again, every object that we've shown from the archives will be on display. And in most cases, we even let you hold them.
Even the
but
little
you
ritual
must wear
books?
the white gloves, and you can hold the little ritual book, but you must wear the gloves.
Wonderful, Jim. Thanks so much for joining us today, and we look forward to the next from the archives.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Well, today on The Inside Story, a rare opportunity to see the Grand Master and his wife and the Deputy Grand Master and his partner together socially. Welcome.
Thanks, Wes.
Thanks, Wes.
Brother Hillel and Sue and Brother Don and Maya. Good to have you with us. Do you get to see each other socially very often?
It's probably become a little bit more difficult since becoming Grand Master, but we make the effort and catch up when we can.
Because of the busy schedule, no doubt?
Absolutely.
Yes.
I wonder if I can get you to cast your minds back to the grand installation a couple of months ago now. But Sue in particular, I wonder what a great occasion that was to have the family there. How must that have made you feel?
It was unbelievable. It was a very special occasion. Our children have grown up with Freemasonry in their lives from the time that they were about 11, and they've now just turned 33. So it was very special to have them there, to see Hillel go in as the Grand Master.
And it was a pretty special performance, Grand Master, from you on that night. You gave a very emotional speech to the assembled crowd after a part of the ceremonial. How must you have been feeling at that time?
It was a very big build-up, Wes, and I guess there were a lot of things I wanted to say, and I wanted to try and express a message and do it perhaps a bit differently to how it had been done in the past. So there were two aspects to it. One was walking onto the floor of the lodge. I thought that was an expression of my desire to be close to the members of Freemasonry. And the second thing was to just recount a little bit of my relationship with my father in Freemasonry and share that with everybody so they get a little bit of insight of what was important to me. So it was a big day, it was an emotional day, but it was something that will stay with me forever.
I found it interesting. I had a number of meetings in the weeks that followed with non-Freemasons, and what amazed me is the fact that they resonated to me that they'd flipped around, they'd seen Channel 31, and they actually sat there and watched the whole of the ceremony that was being televised, and they thought it was absolutely unbelievable. They'd never seen, the pomp, the ceremony, they'd never seen anything like that really, unless you're talking about royalty in England. So they were quite amazed about it.
Yeah, the other aspect was that I wanted to somehow include a little bit about my heritage and coming from a Jewish background and being Jewish, and I think I managed to incorporate that into some of my remarks and some of the things we did on the night. So it was a very, very special evening.
Did you ever imagine yourself being in that position?
Not in a million years would be the short answer. I joined Freemasonry as a 20-year-old and just joined the journey and went along for it with my father for 27 of those years, and never in my wildest dreams thought I would be leading the organisation. It's just been a gradual progression, and it's been a fantastic journey and something that I've enjoyed every minute of and continue to enjoy every minute of.
An exciting time, an exciting night. Maya, what's your memory of that night?
Well, obviously I was very proud of my boy here. And it was fantastic. Everything ran so smoothly, and I've got to say, I went to quite a few of the meetings in preparation, and so much work went into it. Yes. It's a huge thing, but everything flowed, everything was perfect, and you looked gorgeous in your blue dress. No, I had so many comments. Everyone said how lovely you looked. The dress with Hillel's collar was fantastic.
And a lot of special guests that had come to Melbourne specially for the event. I imagine it must have been a tiring time. Exciting, but tiring.
But you do talk about guests that were there, Wes, and we had representatives from every Grand Lodge in Australia and New Zealand, and we had a number of overseas guests from Southeast Asia as well. And all up, we probably had, I'd say, somewhere between 160 and 200 people from overseas or interstate that came to share in the festivities over the 4 or 5 days.
You're very proud of your Jewish faith, and you've already injected some of that into the grand installation ceremony and also the banquet and some other functions. Is that something you're going to continue to do during your time as Grand Master?
I think I'm going to continue to do it, but not necessarily deliberately. I think it's just because that's who I am, and so there's certain things I'll go doing things in a certain way, and it will reflect in what I do Masonically, because I see the two things as very consistent. They're based on very similar history, and I'm very comfortable in both environments, and both environments are aware that I'm in the other environment. So the answer to the question is, yes, I will, but only as a matter of me being myself moving forward.
Don, you're no stranger to leadership positions in business and within Freemasonry, and yet you've taken on a more senior position again as Deputy Grand Master. Is it an exciting time, or do you find that sort of leadership a daunting prospect?
I don't think I find it daunting, Wes. As you say, in my commercial life, I've held major positions in organisations, and quite sizable organisations. So I don't think I find it daunting, but I do find it different. I heard you ask the question of Hillel, did he ever believe that he would be in that position? Well, when he said not in a million years, then I could say not in 2 million years. All right, so, and circumstances changed for me in my business life, where I was able to sell out of the business and move on to something else, and that gave the opportunity. I'm looking forward to it. I think I can make a difference. I think we can make a difference. Hillel and I have worked together. We know we can work together, and we know we can get results. So I'm looking forward to an exciting time ahead, and I hope Freemasonry Victoria embrace that and move forward with us.
I'm interested to know how each of you approach responsibility, because it is a large organisation, there are many challenges, there are a lot of people who are relying on the decisions that ultimately you make. And so for each of you, I wonder how that feels. How do you approach that responsibility?
Well, I'm lucky I have Sue to teach me. But I am, no, in all seriousness, I'm very lucky, because she's such a knowledgeable woman. She's a great role model, and I think it's going to be exciting, because I think we're going to be able to work together, and I think there's going to be a lot of really good things for women. I think that we'll get the women involved.
I also think that there's been a change in the way in which we manage Freemasonry, and I think that change is important. The Board of General Purposes, they meet, they're the powerhouse really in the organisation, and so what it then means that we need to do as a group is to take some of those decisions and make sure that they move forward within the organisation. So I think things have changed, and I think that helps us, because what it means is you're not out there on your own trying to make a decision. That decision is being made with a group of Freemasons, a group of senior Freemasons, and I think that's a pretty important step that we've taken forward in the organisation.
So it's a shared responsibility, safety in numbers maybe?
I think it's shared, but I think also that if you're sincere in terms of your direction, and you believe in the organisation and its core values, and it's been part of your life for a great part of it, then it's a natural thing. You don't have to think about it too much. You sense what the right thing to do is. You know how to treat people with respect and the organisation with respect, and it's not a challenge. It's a great opportunity to try and add some value and give back to the organisation all that it's given to us over many, many years.
Some people talk of growing into a role, particularly a leadership role, and I wonder, even as a relatively new Grand Master, do you find yourself growing into the position, even as you came up through the ranks of Deputy Grand Master?
Oh, absolutely. It's something that you just continual development. I think Freemasonry provides that opportunity for people to develop, and I don't think it stops your entire time. And I think Don made the comment to me the other day that he said some of my remarks and the way I speak now are starting to sound like a Grand Master. So, and I think that was just recognising that you develop and mature and you learn as you go along, and that holds true while you're Grand Master.
Well, I'm enjoying the conversation, and I hope that we can come back to chat more with you later on in the Inside Story. So thank you again for joining us today. Look forward
Thanks,
to it.
Wes. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Erin Olsen, and we're here today at the Dallas Brooks Center with Martin Dambrosi from Gisborne Lodge. Hi Martin, thanks for joining us today.
No problem, Erin, thanks for having me.
So, we're here today because you have a love of music. Can you tell us about when that began and how it all started?
It all started, my mum and dad, shortly after they were married. My mother bought my father a guitar from a music store and a book, how to learn to play guitar. And Dad never bothered learning, and the guitar sat in the corner, lonely and abandoned and looking very sad for many years, until I was at the age of 6. I used to pick it up and play it. I used to pick it up and sort of try and play it as a young kid. And my mother saw me one day and decided to get me some music lessons. And that was at the age of 6, and I haven't really stopped. Well, I had lessons up until the end of year 12 in 1991. And from there, I just kept playing.
And so what have been some of the highlights for you?
Career-wise, as I said to you earlier, I think career implies that you actually made some money from it, which I never have, but, well, nothing significant. But probably the earliest highlight was I auditioned to get into the University High Music program, and I was successful in getting into that. So I completed year 12 at University High School. And I was lucky to be able to do, in those days, what was called Music A and Music B as 2 of my Year 12 subjects, which definitely helped me get over the line with Year 12, because I wasn't exactly Student of the Year. But by that age, I was also playing in bands outside of that. I was in cover bands, and every high school kid's dream to be in a rock band and play pub gigs, and I was doing it. I was living the dream, and as far as my friends and I were concerned, we were all going to be rock stars. Other great highlights have been some of the gigs I've played in front of large crowds. In some of the bands I've been in, I've played in some large venues, large pubs on Swanson Street. I played in a large pub there that I, for the life of me, can't remember the name of. The Chevron on St Kilda Road, which is now an apartment building. Things like that. Some big gigs that we probably only did once or twice or 3 times, but they were just very memorable because of the crowds, the screaming, the carrying on, the noise, the vibe. It was just fantastic,
So, as I mentioned, you are a member at the Gisborne Lodge. So when did your journey with Freemasonry begin?
In 2005, sort of mid-2005, a very close friend of mine, Miles Nelson, who's also a member at Gisborne Lodge now, he went to Caulfield Grammar, and he was invited to an open night at Caulfield Grammar Lodge, and he was asked to bring a friend, and I was the friend. And we went down there and checked it out, and we really liked what was described to us. I really felt the sense of camaraderie there, and they didn't tell us anything about rituals or anything like that, of course, but I did sense that there was a very big focus on personal development. That is one of the things that drew me back towards Freemasonry, because I always remembered that. And Miles and I had discussed Freemasonry for a number of years during that time. And so the focus on personal development and improving yourself was a huge part of the reason why I started to look back into it again. And I also had a manager where I was working at the time at NMIT, teaching trade school, a man by the name of Bruce Burns, who I learned was a Freemason. And I greatly admired him as a manager because he had really a lot of admiration from his staff, and I quite liked him. And when I learned he was a Freemason, I thought, well, if that's the sort of guy that's a Freemason, then maybe I should have a crack too, you know. That and the focus on personal development and those sorts of things, that's what attracted me to it. And so yeah, I made some inquiries. I sent an email. I sent an email to Grand Lodge, and it would have been 10 minutes later, 15 minutes later, somebody rang me up. It was quite quick and invited me in for an interview. I went through the process because I don't know any Freemasons. I don't know a single Freemason. My father, I'm not even sure if, I doubt he was a Freemason. They were all very secretive, that generation, you know. And, yeah, so I made some inquiries, went through the process, and now, yeah, they put me in touch with the Gisborne Lodge, and they sort of caught up with me and we had a chat, and next thing you know, I'm being initiated.
I understand that you've had a lifelong dream to play on the Dallas Brooks stage. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, when I was in primary school and early secondary school, I went to a school that had their end of year speech night in this very auditorium. And I used to fantasise as a young kid, as I was learning the guitar early on, about playing on the Dallas Brooks Centre with a rockin' band in front of hundreds of people, and you know, and this was one of the venues I thought about because it was really the largest venue I'd ever been in my childhood. So I used to lie in bed at night and with headphones on and fantasise about playing on the stage at the Dallas Brooks Centre. So yeah.
Well, we don't have a rocking band here today, but we'd love you to play us a song anyways. Martin, thank you so much for coming here today to talk to us.
My pleasure.
Let's hear a tune.
I heard there was a secret chord that David played and it pleased the Lord, but you don't really care for music, now do ya? It goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall and the major lift, the broken king composing Alleluia, 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 Alleluia. Your faith was strong, but you needed proof. You saw her bathing on the roof. Her beauty in the moonlight overthrew you. She tied you to a kitchen chair. She broke your throne and she cut your hair. And from your lips she drew an Alleluia, 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 Alleluia. I did my best, it wasn't much. I couldn't feel, so I tried to touch. I've told the truth, I didn't come to fool you. And even though it went all wrong, I'll stand before the Lord of Song with nothing on my tongue but Alleluia, 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 Alleluia.
Thanks for joining us. To find out more about Freemasonry, visit the Freemasons Victoria website at www.freemasonsvic.net.au or phone us on 1800 Freemason. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, Flickr, LinkedIn and Google+. We'll see you next week.